Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. New year, new webinar series. There's a lot of new people also joining. I can see there's also a lot of people who have been a part of the journey before. We are switching to English. There's one reason for that we are switching to English, and that is that we get a huge demand of having more people joining in. So let's do this in English. Remember, you can ask questions in all the possible languages. We will try to answer those. So we have a chat feature. Don't worry, you can use it. If you want to ask questions in Finnish, Swedish, English, we will try to accommodate that. So don't worry about it. So hey, let's start with the introduction. Let's talk about what is the webinar series about? What are we doing? And let's have some fun. So hey, everybody. My name is Ursula Koski. I know many of you know me already from the past. I'm the CTO for the partner organization for the Nordic countries for Amazon Web Services. So basically what I do, I'm still a techie, so I'm a solutions architect, and I'm leading certain architecture projects like high available, maximum available database projects, analytics, architectures, etc. I'm also the co-lead for EMEA Amazon, which is Amazon Web Services and Amazon Affinity Group, which is LGBTQ plus group, openly gay, and love to travel, neurodiverse. Well, that's a summary of me. So, hey, I also have a co-host, so would love to introduce you. So, hey, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ursula. So yeah, my name is Maria. I'm a solutions architect also based in Nordics, or more precisely in Finland. I work for public sector, so for every public sector entity in the Nordics as well as the EMEA region. So a lot of different customers. Originally, I'm a biotechnical engineer, so I have had a little journey coming to the cloud. As Ursula, I also love to travel, and you can see there is a few pictures there included as well. I'm also part of the Amazon Nordics team, so recently joined and happy to be here. Back to you, Ursula.
Thank you, Maria. So I want to do a shout out. So let's do a bit of a shout out for the Amazon team and also our global IDNE team. The fact is that we wouldn't be here without also the financial support. We have amazing leadership team, and also we have amazing solutions architecture team that is supporting us. So commercial public sector, our partner SAs EMEA wide. So thank you. This wouldn't be happening without you. So that is fantastic. So let's talk about our journey together. So we are kicking off something completely new. So I know that we have been running a series already before, but what are we doing? And also we would like to hear from you what you would like to see. So what's something that you would like to see this spring? So let's start with a couple of questions. So let's look at where are we going? I have an anecdote that I really love to use sometimes. And it's about maybe like, why are you going somewhere? Like, why are you here? What are you doing? What do you want to do with your career? And so ask yourself, like, what is your target? And I know that there will be answers like, I want to do a career transformation. I want to get my certification. I want to get a new job role. I want to get more responsibility. Those are all really, really valid questions. So those are absolutely valid questions. So there's no wrong answer there. I used to train different sports. So javelin throw, bodybuilding, whatever. And I used to have a coach who was really kind of cynical and said, like, the risk of failure is great when the incapable, pointing to him, directs the unwilling to do the unnecessary. That's a bit cynical, I know. But the idea is that have in your mind a target, what you would like to achieve from this journey together. So have that goal in your head. Also, who are we? So you might see people around you that you see careers. I would like to be like her, like him. But ask yourself a question, who are you? Like, why are you here? What are you aiming to get to? And of course, the fact, where are we going? Like, what kind of a journey are we leading together? One target for this webinar series is certifications. But I would like to point out when we talk about this, it's a possible goal. It's not mandatory. So you can take this journey just to learn. You don't have to necessarily take the certification exams and say, hey, I'm now cloud practitioner, Amazon Web Services cloud practitioner, or let's say solutions architect. But that can also be a target. Why I'm pointing to this is the fact that ask yourself where you will be using it. So what I would love to see for everybody, that you would use it for things like career development, new projects, building something new. So absolutely, certification is one goal, but also having a great journey and learning new things is another. I would also like to point out that probably the journey from A to B is not always very direct. So whatever you're seeing, please remember to be curious, ask questions. So ask questions about how did you get there? For example, this is not my first and probably not my last job role. My journey from where I started to where I got to at the moment is not straight line. So think about it as a journey and also why you're doing it. So for example, I was looking at my past job certificates. My first jobs, I don't know if they're in order, was newspaper delivery. I've also done a lot of cleaning, house cleaning, boat cleaning, whatever. And so my starting point is completely different from what I'm doing right now. Maria, did you start from this role or have you done something else?
Yeah. As I mentioned, I actually graduated from the biotechnical engineering program in University of Turku. But before that, I used to work as a sales manager, for example, retail stores, both food like K-Market and clothes like Stockmann. And after that, after I graduated, I worked as a technician in laboratory, and then I transferred to software development, and then I was in procurement. So yeah, my journey wasn't definitely not the straightest one to the cloud technologies.
Exactly. So it's not a direct line. And also there's no wrong decision. So if your passion is something, absolutely go pursue it. So it's a journey. So we are going to talk about Amazon Web Services. We are going to talk about cloud. We are going to offer you a few career coaching opportunities, also a lot of networking opportunities. So you get to meet our team and talk to our team also live. So that will give you some food for thought, like what do you want to do? What's your aim? But when we talk about the technology stack and we talk about where we are at right now, and where we are going with the certification path, we are going to talk about Amazon Web Services. So I'm going to share you a bit about the journey of the company itself, so you understand where we started from and how it developed. And then I'm going to offer you the challenge of let's take this journey together and we start learning together. So as a company, we are part of Amazon, but we are the technology part of Amazon. So we are the technology platform of Amazon that you know as Amazon Retail. But how did we get started? And let's look at some things. So very often in the past, these are probably things that you have heard. So you have heard really cynical comments of like IT is where you put your money in and get excuses out. Technology is complicated and the requirement changed again. Why is everything needed yesterday? And then you hear people saying, technology is so hard. You have to be a math wizard. Everybody has to code. Is it? Or does it always have to be hard? Or could we actually simplify things? So could we actually invent things that makes it more simple? History, if you look at the history itself, so if you look at the industry itself, we are in a really interesting position right now, what is happening around us. And the reason why we are there, let's look at the history as we know it. So we know that certain things have been the kind of the tactical changes in the industry. So 1990s, so the internet becoming much bigger and there's a lot of IT solutions that are still around from those times. When we added social media to the game, there became a lot of new business models. and a lot of new different kinds of consumers. Now we can't even think about an industry that doesn't have social media. And then again, stepping into the 2000 and 2010, the consumerization of IT changed the industry. But what is really cool about this point in time that we are in right now, what we are seeing across the globe, across EMEA, and also Nordics, is that the industry is changing bigger than ever right now. So if you look at the leap that we are going to take in the upcoming year, will be huge. And that is the reason why we also need education, that we can keep learning and doing things that will actually develop us and develop the new big products. So let's look at our history as a company. So journey of Amazon. So where did it start? So Amazon started from a project called Obidos, and the original architecture was from 1990s, and it's actually named after a fishing village. So it's located at the Amazon River, and that original Amazon was challenged with a lot of issues of whatever the industry was seeing at the time. So there was projects that were large, they were really, really long. They were also very reactionary. So meaning that whatever happened, it got a reaction or a fix based on what was happening at the time. That's not really a good business model. So, so what we noticed fairly quickly in the 1990s was that if we have a huge company, huge platform, it's very easy to become too big for your own good. So system can become very complicated, and it can become what's called, you could say that it's brittle. So it is hard to change the system that was already invented. So we had to reinvent ourselves. So we had to look at what needs to change. So all the projects that were running in the beginning was like reinventing the wheel. Everybody had their model in mind and hey, let's reinvent it. That's also not really a good business model. That also means that if you want to introduce new features, they were really slow to introduce. So that slow pace of delivery was also affecting the business. So then you have to have that hard discussion with your business owners of what can be done about it. So there were some fundamental things that we agreed upon, and those were, we need to spend less time building and managing an infrastructure and more time building features or services or solutions, so bigger building blocks. The second part was we need to standardize those building blocks, so simplify the applications that were built, deployed, and operated. And then how could that whole solution and platform actually benefit also other users, not just that commercial place in the internet that is selling books and things. So how could you use that same platform, those complex data centers and features to benefit other businesses? So how could you open up for other businesses too? So based on those realizations came actually Amazon Web Services, the company that we are working for today. So that is the idea and the principles that brought on cloud. So Amazon Web Services was launched in 2006, and that actually changed the whole landscape. So let's look at the landscape itself and what is the key fundamentals of that. So we talked about building blocks. Also, we talked about speed. So how do you get faster to your goal? Also, the fact that we don't want to pay for the same thing over and over again, not knowing what the outcome will be. So how do you do cost control? And the last piece, the number 4 on this screen, the next big thing, how do you focus on delivering that is the most innovative thing that you can deliver and not focusing on rebuilding the building blocks over again? So those were the basic principles around Amazon Web Services. And that has actually brought on the whole stack of providing different services and cloud computing. So basically cloud computing meaning, how do you deliver solution services or IT resources with pay-as-you-go pricing. So just paying for what you use. So if you implement something today, you can decide to stop it tomorrow and you will not be paying for it. And those standardized building blocks started growing. So there was multiple solutions introduced. So our first fundamental building blocks were things like storage, like object storage. So Amazon Web Services buckets, things like compute, networking, identity, etc. So that started growing and those started standardizing. So that's also easy access for all those building blocks. And this is what the learning series is about. So we will be teaching you the basic principles of those building blocks, but also the process mechanisms of cost control and how to use that for your role in your normal work life. So how can you do the innovation part using those building blocks? And today, I think, Maria, probably you're agreeing with me if I say there's a lot of building blocks. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so we have hundreds of solutions. So we have plenty of solutions, and it's safe to say, so don't stress about it. So nobody knows them all. So you can say, I'm a master of each and every building block. And that is the reason you will see a lot of speakers in this series. So you will see a lot of our solutions architecture team members talking about their area of expertise, and that also allows you to network with them. So that is quite cool. I get often a question, what was wrong with the past? Like, why do we need to change? Why do we need to deliver cloud at all? So what is the point of the cloud? So let's spend a moment to talk about what the past looked like. And let's start with like what the traditional on-premises could look like. So the traditional on-premises, if you had a company, if you were like an enterprise customer, you might have your primary data center. So located at your, let's say, at your offices or secondary site. And that means that you were purchasing everything from ground up. So delivery of electricity, cooling, everything that has to be supplied for that on-premise data center. And if you're really big, you might have a backup data center. So you might have a backup data center that was located outside the permit, like even the city or even country, to have a secondary location if something would happen, that you could actually fail over to the secondary location or store backups or whatever you were doing. So the challenge with this one is the fact that you have to be very good at predicting. So knowing how much capacity we'll need and how does it scale, automating certain things and building those data centers is quite expensive. So the whole cloud model is based on the idea if we can take certain things, certain learnings from that data center type of thinking and make it scale globally. So make it scale much more wider, much more bigger. And that is what Amazon Web Services is doing. I will talk about a few principles that is good to know. And don't worry, all of this will be talked about also in the fundamentals. But fundamentally, Amazon Web Services started from a point of view that when we build for resiliency. And resiliency meaning we expect that things can over time fail. So there's actually a saying by our Amazon CTO, Werner Vogels, that everything fails all the time. So we need to be prepared for something failing. So we have actually taken the concept of data centers and done something that is much more scalable. We talk about a concept of region, and a region is actually, when you look at the region, when you look at the architecture itself, is that is already different than many other companies talking about regions. So our regions consist of multiple availability zones. So we talk about AZs. And those consist, so the AZs consist of multiple data centers. So going back to the on-premises, having one data centers, two data centers, etc. Those AZs already have multiple data centers in them. And everything that is built inside those systems and those data centers are redundant, meaning that they always have a failover and backup solution, and everything is interconnected. So let's take an example. You're launching anything on Amazon Web Services. So let's say you're launching a virtual machine on Amazon Web Services. Once you enter the network, you can actually traverse the whole globe throughout that network. So once you're in the network, you don't have to even exit that network if you want to traverse the whole globe, across the globe from country to country. Everything also being resilient is also secure. So anything that enters the network is always encrypted. So anything traversing the network is also encrypted. So components like regions, availability zones, also the smaller components like virtual machines, we will talk about over time. You will also get to experience those. So you get to actually build those and play around with those when we do practical hands-on sessions. There are certain things that I would like to point out when it comes to the regional design and also the global design. There are built-in features other than security, resiliency. There are things like sustainability. How do you use the least amount of energy to actually implement what you're implementing? And those are also measurable. So you will also hear a couple of topics around this. So how do you do sustainable IT? So let's take an example. So the question about, so what was so wrong about having your traditional on-premises? Still, companies have them, so don't worry about it. It can be the right approach in some cases, but the principle of it. So let's say you have a really cool idea for a new project. So you're starting to build a new game or you're starting to build a new solution. So I'm launching a product and I own my own on-premises server rooms. So I have the idea. And then I need to start with the idea of having a to-do list. So I need to order the servers for my server rooms. I receive the servers. Somebody goes in and installs the servers. And then somebody goes in and configures the servers. And then they will be tested and they will go live. So let's say that the product was a success and you notice that you need more capacity. So then you need to order that capacity. So in order to expand your solution, you need to also add additional capacity. So you will actually go back to the beginning and start ordering servers, installing servers, setting up the servers, testing servers. So the question is, hang on. So what is different then? So what is different is that if you have exactly the same idea, so I have a great idea, I want to try it out. I can actually deploy that in cloud in minutes. So I can actually take the capacity. So I can actually run the capacity up in cloud in minutes. So I'm setting up new servers. And if I need more capacity, I can do that also in minutes. So I can actually quickly add capacity based on need. So that is one of the really fundamental pieces of what makes cloud different. So capacity planning is in the core of the whole thing. So let's look at capacity planning and why is it such a fundamental piece of everything. So let's say that product idea, if it ends up being great, how do you do capacity planning in traditional way? And how do you do capacity planning in not so traditional way? So very often we see over provisioning when you own your own hardware. So meaning that you might have a predicted outcome of your project, and then you have to actually scale based on that predicted demand. So when a traditional project starts with planned capacity, we assume linear, and very often it's not. So in traditional side, there's quite a large capital expenditure where you have to over provision in order to keep up with the demand. When the actual demand might be different. So it might be that we see the demand going up and down. Also, there are industries that are very much, let's say, they are demand-based and also annual clock-based. What I mean by that is that you might see seasons that are much more high demand. Let's take an example, Christmas time. There are a lot of industries that depend on Christmas time sales, or let's say there are companies like postal services, delivery services that deliver a lot more during those months that people are shopping a lot more. So if you do your traditional predicted demand, you might be over provisioning a lot. So let's look at the fact that we have actual demand, and then we have the cloud-based approach. So we have the option to also actually follow what's called the actual demand, and also answering to the fact if there's no demand, we can let go of capacity. And that makes also the cost control much easier. So that is something to keep in mind. This was also challenged a lot during the COVID time. So when we saw people going back to home and working from home, certain companies' demand increased. It was explosive. Then again, certain companies did not have a demand at all. So then can you let go of your capacity when it's not needed and use the money somewhere else? That is critical. So that is basically the fundamental of what we also do when it comes to large scale demand planning. So let's look at why typically also customers use us, and then we can also talk about like what are the typical customer cases. So the fact is that we have been doing this for quite a long time, so we have a really long experience when it comes to cloud offerings. We have the biggest global reach, so we have currently 33 regions. So if you look at the points that we are present in the globe, region means that it's inside a country border, so it's inside a legal entity. So meaning if you see, for example, a Stockholm region, it means that it's inside that Sweden country entity. And that data is also staying inside that region if you decide to keep it there. So that's also your decision as a customer to decide. And we have quite a bit of availability zones. We have a huge number of security services and over 200 service offerings. Service offering meaning that it's a fully featured service. So fully featured service might mean from your virtual machines, so deploying just a machine that acts as a, let's say, web server, to a service where you actually rent capacity from satellites to do satellite imaging. So the diversity of services is huge. And that is also the reason why I say you can't find a single person that would know all the services end to end. So things to point out also here, and what you will hear during our webinar series, is that we work a bit differently than other companies. So when you look at also the pricing of the services, we do price reductions. So some might ask, like, what do you mean? Shouldn't you be raising prices? The fact that we are the scale that we are, we have the opportunity to provide discounts on services, so lowering the price of services from year to year. So you will very often see that you will see lowering of the prices because we have the scale. So that is also a benefit that you get from our side. So that is, in summary, the growth journey of Amazon Web Services. And we are launching a series of webinars where you can learn the services, have the basic training, and also talk about career along the way. Very often people who don't know Amazon Web Services ask, like, okay, so I know Amazon, but who else is using your services? Like, who else is on your platform? I would say all and everybody. So starting from the smallest startups to the biggest companies. Here's a lot of the logos, but also like we could go on and on with the customer logos. We can take a few examples. Let's say you're launching your PlayStation, you're playing a game. Most likely those games that are played globally, multi-user, multiplayer games, are most likely running on AWS. Netflix is a good example, and I can actually share you a couple of numbers on Netflix. So a lot of the services that you're using today is already running on services on AWS. So, and the reason being that they are ready-made building blocks, standardized, that allows them to actually plan for the services to be built faster, have the cost control, and then focus on what you do best. So focus on the fact, what are you doing as a business? So what is your product that you're launching? What is the focus that you're doing? And then you get to innovate and build without having to scale globally or build all the server rooms yourself. one thing that is really fundamental right now, this year and the starting year, is something of change. So Jeff Bezos said, in the era of volatility, there's no other way than to reinvent. I think this went into like a hyper mode at some point. We are seeing so many changes around us and also the changes in the world. So we need the agility, and that technology stack provides that agility. So we need to find a way to make it simpler and something that we can replicate, and also that is something that we know how it will function. So it is standardized that way. So I promised that I would share something on Netflix. So Netflix is a good example of a customer. So why did Netflix decide to use Amazon Web Services as a platform? So Netflix has also been reinventing themselves. As you know, that they started off from quite different business. So from renting actually videos and DVDs. So they have viewers in 190 countries with a lot of content. So the scale is massive. And so you need to be able to do that as a global reach. Would you build your own, or would you use something that is standardized? So they see it as a differentiator for the business. So in order for them to focus on the business, they use a stack that is tested and standardized and secure. So that brings me to the end of the actual tech talk about the Amazon Web Services. Like, what are we? So that's basically the basic fundamentals of us, and I will take some questions also at the end, so we can cover those. But the question is, where are we going? So what are we going to do together? So today, I'm happy that I get to invite you to join us for a journey. So we are launching today a series of technology sessions. Those are already in the calendar, and you will get a link to the calendar main page in the chat. Those technology sessions will always cover the basic principle of that technology area that we are talking about. So if you see a webinar for databases, then we focus on databases and we talk about the practicalities, the services, the solutions that we have available. In order for you to practice, we offer immersion days. And that means that we have a group of solutions architects that will lead you through hands-on practices. And those hands-on practices will include different groups. So we will divide the group so that when you join the practice session, you will have a beginner room, you will have an intermediate room, and you will have an advanced room. So let's say you're saying, I don't know all this, I just want to practice, let me practice. You can go into the advanced room, and there you can practice. You have your accounts, and you don't necessarily need too much of help with the progress. Or then you can decide, hey, I'm a beginner, I want to have somebody who's demoing those solutions and labs for me. Then you can go into the beginner room and get more assistance there. So immersion days are those practice days. And during that day, you will get account access that is completely on us. So we are providing you with the account access. And those accounts will be available throughout that day. So you will have a full day of access even after the session. And those accounts, of course, then will be at some point deleted after that day. What else are we doing? So we actually had a chat about the fact that technology is great, but let's also talk about career mentoring. So you will see a couple of career sessions also specifically when we do the bigger events like 19th of April. You will see a lot of career talks, and you'll also can join us either virtually or on site in Helsinki to talk to our teams, talk to our recruiters, and talk to our also mentors. So let's do a bit of also planning for the future. We will be offering certification days, and those will have their own calendar marking. So you will find those already. So the first prep is already in the calendar. And then let's do a bit of networking. So let's have a bit of fun also in the process. So like I said, the main page holds all and everything. And once we add content, because we are still adding content, you will see sessions like generative AI. So we have a fantastic speaker coming over to talk about AI, ML, generative AI, and how do you use it. So one source of truth is that landing page. We have a lot of team members around to support this journey, but let's look at last year's numbers. Let's look at 2023. So where did we end up with the program? So we have quite a large community around us. So I think we are very close to 10,000 subscribers as a full program, and it's still growing. We have a lot of partners also supporting us in this journey. So you also get to talk to partners who work around this industry and also offer roles in this industry. There's a Slack, and you will see a link invite to the Slack channel. If you have any issues joining, let us know. In total, net new certifications, AWS certifications as a group, we did 350 last year. Our age range is quite diverse. We have an active LGBTQ plus community, and we do offer mentoring opportunities along the way. So what is good to know about this series? So we are kicking off the Cloud Practitioner series. So the delivery format will be webinars, immersion days, additional content, and of course the bigger events when you have those virtual events like 19th of April. That format will follow through the whole spring. Pace of delivery, it's a beginner session. So we'll start with the beginner stuff, and then we will have a chat with you and check along the way if you feel that you want to progress over to do more advanced, let's say, solutions architect certifications. Those of you who decide to join for the whole journey and join us for the webinars, all the content and material access. So there will be also links on the page, but you will also get a container called Work Docs. So you will get access to a Work Docs folder. And that means that all the material content that we share will be also there. And yeah, there will be a lot of speakers. There will be a lot of us that will join you. Practical tools for the series, like we are now using Zoom, Slack, Work Docs, certification vouchers we are providing for you in a digital delivery format, and we will prep you on those. And yes, so the main page is the one source of truth, and of course, follow on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. One question that I get very often is also like, why did you decide to do this in this format? And why do you think Amazon and Amazon Web Services and Mimmit koodaa, Women Who Code, is a good match? And that is something I would also like to answer here. And that is the reason that as a company, we have something that we call leadership principles. So leadership principles is our core values, and our core values define what we do and how we do it. And when we work with any partner or customers, we also see that the match works the best when the leadership values are shared. And I have to say that really happy to say working throughout 2022, 2023, I see that this match works well when it comes to the leadership values. So I'm really thankful for the team of Mimmit koodaa, Women Who Code, Emilia, Sanna. You're doing amazing work. So thank you for that, and thank you for supporting us and sharing our values. So that is the summary of why we are working together the way that we are. We will be seeing a lot of people joining from international environments. So we are aiming to time this time zone wise so that most of you can join, but we know that that might not be always possible. There's school, there's work, there's life. So we will be recording all the sessions. So you will get a recording of all the webinars, so you can access them after the fact. So you can listen to the webinar after. You can also repeat if there was something that you didn't understand, or you want to check that did you hear it correctly. So that's being made available for you, and that is a great tool to use also. And yeah, the calendar is looking quite nice, and there's a lot of people joining us already. So also remember to reserve your seat. If you have to cancel, so let's say that you sign up for everything and then you notice like, oh, I have a holiday, or I'm going here and there. Please remember to cancel your reservation, because some of the events will also have a waiting list. And when we have no show, we are basically throwing out money. That's in practice what it is. So it means that if you can share your seat for somebody else, please do so. So let us know if you can't join. So then, before we go to questions and see what we have, let's look at what's up next. So we are actually kicking off really soon, so next week already, the next session, and then we are just diving into the fundamentals of the cloud. So you will see both of us, so me and Maria, will be there for you. And then we have somebody who has actually written a book on the cloud fundamentals. So Praveen Misra is joining us. He's also AWS authorized instructor and trainer. So we will take the webinar, we will talk about the fundamentals pieces, and then after this webinar, we will launch the first immersion day that is already in the calendar. So you can already sign up for both of those. Before I open up for questions, let's talk about the certification, because I know that certification path usually has a lot of questions around it. So if you're aiming for the certifications, is it enough? So the question is always, is it enough to take part in all the webinars and immersion days, and will I be ready? I will answer, this is probably a very political answer, yes and no. So meaning that, yes, we will provide you with all the content areas and also additional content. And also you get to practice those things that we talk about. But it depends on the fact that where you're starting from. So it might mean that you have to do a bit of prepping and learning. And when you join the next session, I might have a really nice surprise for you when it comes to that. So we are working towards getting you a digital book, so getting you a bit of more learning material that you can use for your journey. But it's safe to say that the cloud practitioner, that's the base level of certifications. It's quite safe to say that this learning series covers all the topics that you will see in the exam, and we will also do exam prep. Those of you think about the actual certification, so the practitioner is the base level, and certification or recertification happens in 3 years intervals. So in the past it was 2 years, now it's 3 years. Why do you need to recertify once you have your exam already done? Is because we want to see that the people holding that certificate have the current insights on the current Amazon Web Services environments. So that means that you have to retake it here and there. If you already have your cloud practitioner, you can also use this series either for the retake, or then you can actually join us because we are thinking about putting up the Architect Associate. You can join us for that once we get that launch during the spring. So that's about the certifications. So what you can expect from our side is for 2024 is the events that you see on the page. Let's do a bit of networking, but also let's have fun together. So the reason we are putting up things like the watch parties and inviting people over is to have also those opportunities to network one-on-one and have those career coaching sessions and also hear your feedback. So that's what the year 2024 looks like. So I think also to point out, all of us want to network with you. So you will always see our contact details. You see the QR codes, feel free to network with us. So send us a LinkedIn invite, happy to connect. Also really happy to hear when you have received your practitioner certificate or your next certificate. So let us know how it's going. So that's pretty much for the basic principles of today. And I think now I have a question for you, Maria. Do we have a lot of questions in the chat? Have we answered everything? Also, feel free to pop more questions in.
Yeah, no, not a lot of questions right now, but there is a few that I think most people are interested in. So first is, as you said, do I need to attend all of the immersion days and webinars to be able to take the certificate?
So that is a good question. I would say, let's take a couple of principles. Let's say if you know already one of the topics really well. So let's say you know databases really well. It's okay if you say, I don't want to join this because I already know this, that's fine. Those components usually are the main components for the exam. So it makes your life easier if you have some hands-on practice also. So that way I would say it's not mandatory, and you can also look at the recordings. the practice side is a bit, that's a bit tricky. If you can't have any hands-on practice, you can probably still pass the exam, but it will make a better memory impression if you have the opportunity to join also the immersion days. Also, please feel free to give us feedback if you notice that the immersion day schedule, if there's a lot of issues or overlap that it doesn't work. We have the opportunity to also look at timings to maybe add additional days. We have done so in the past. So also feedback is really critical for us. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. The other one is, what do the person needs to do to get a certification voucher? Do they need to attend a certain amount of study sessions, or when would it be possible to get them?
So we will be usually centralizing the voucher delivery. And so typically what we have done in the past is that we offer the certification vouchers for those who, for example, join us for the certification prep. We have in the past done also certain interim points throughout the year to see if there are also some people who are already done like the past sessions and want to actually join us for just doing like a short prep and then taking the exam. So I would say that you can prepare for those who are joining us for the whole delivery. You will get the certification voucher when we have the exam prep. Those of you who have been in the past series, you can also ping us, let us know if you would like to do that at a faster pace. We can check how we can do that. By the way, the certification vouchers are valid for a certain amount of time. I can check that for you, but I think in total they are 12 months, but I will check that number for you. So let's say if I'm giving you a voucher today that is created today, when you apply that to your exam, that means that you have 12 months to actually finalize, get that exam done. You can always also move the exam. So that's good to know for the certification vouchers.
All right.
Anything else?
Yeah, we are continuing on the certification part. So is there any cost getting the certificate when you get the voucher?
So let's put it this way. So the fact is that all the certification vouchers have a cost associated, but the reason that we are doing this is also to provide you access to those. So we are funding it. So we are offering you a free voucher, but keep in mind, basically the voucher value for the practitioner, that's always 100 euros. So once we give you a voucher, so that has the value of 100 euros. Please treat it in ways, if you can't use it, take care that somebody else can. So that is my point, that it has a value. We are providing you with vouchers for this program. We are also providing you with additional content that might have a price tag if you would get it elsewhere, so outside the program. So treat them in ways of reuse them with your team, or reuse them or return them if you can't use them.
Awesome. Someone is asking for the information on the vouchers also in Finnish. I think we can do that as well, right? So we can just...
So I can do like a quick summary in Finnish. Eli vouchereita saatte samalla tavalla kuin ennenkin. Eli voucherit tulee saataville tyypillisesti exam preppien yhteydessä. Ja sitten se, että pingatkaa meitä Slackissa tai sitten pingatkaa suoraan sähköpostiin, jos teillä on esimerkiksi tarve nyt voucherille ja olette ollut aikaisemmassa ohjelmassa, niin sitä kautta myös voidaan auttaa.
Mahtavaa. Ja sä vastasitkin siinä samalla siihen seuraavaan kysymykseen, että voucherin saa kyllä siis aikaisemmin, jos aikoo mennä jo nyt.
So voucher can be received also earlier if you have been a part of the program earlier and are ready to now take the exam. So yes.
Okay, great. Another question. All right, we had some feedback on the immersion days being in the day, and also there's a question, are the dates set already? So the dates that you showed, they are set in stone, right? We have already booked those.
So the thing is that schedule that we have right now is the basic schedule. What we have done in the past, we have also offered additional immersion days when there's enough people wanting those. So meaning that if we see, for example, now the cloud fundamentals is probably one of the biggest immersion days that we will be running if we say that we have a long waiting list, or let's say that there's a lot of people saying, I would join if there was an opportunity to do it in the evening. There's also the opportunity that we can discuss as a team that if we would actually do 2 events inside that day, so that we will also do like an evening event. So that is one option, or let's say also do additional days. So I would say what helps us a lot is let us know, and let Sanna and Milja know from Mimmit koodaa that if that is something that would you really like to see, so then we know that there's a demand for those.
Awesome. I can see that Sanna is answering some of the questions, so I'm not going to go into those. But Lina is asking, does AWS offer a sandbox environment for practicing outside of the immersion days?
Oh, that's a really good question. So outside the immersion days, in the past, what we have had, so we have one actually recorded practice session that we can share for you or reshare for you that shows you how to set up a sandbox that allows you to use free tier. But keep in mind, when you're using free tier, that actually means that you could also use something else. So meaning that you could also use services that have cost associated with that. We have 2 ways of solving that issue. So let's say one is that if you're building your own account, you're putting in your own credit card, we can teach you how to actually do the cost control of not spending money on things that you're not planning to spend money on. We also do have certain student grants that we have had in the past, and I will check if we can get them again, meaning that we can give certain student vouchers to have practice time in your own account. So meaning that's let's say it's $100, you put it in your own account, you can spend that $100. But then there's one thing to be very, very mindful of. If you're overspending and if you have your own credit card in there, you could also overspend on your own credit card. So that is the reason we want to also share the session of, hey, this is the way to create a sandbox that you will not overspend on. If I will find, we actually are offering now different labs in a very isolated sandbox environments. I will check if I can do that and offer you accounts that will actually keep you in a certain services range that will never cost you a thing. So that will also have access to the practice sessions for a longer period. So we are looking into that, but you can expect that we offer you certain recordings, and also we can prep you during the fundamental sessions of how to set up your own account.
All right, great. Another question, if someone is aiming to approach the machine learning certification, so the specialty one, is there any immersion days that could cover such discipline in conjunction with the ongoing cloud computing?
Yeah, so we are now adding for the spring, so it will be after the 19th of April, there will be a machine learning AI session. And I know that the webinar is being put in the calendar. We just have to decide the date. So that is something that is in the works in the background. I have a speaker for that. We can arrange a similar immersion day on that if we have enough attendance who will be interested in that. So definitely there will be immersion day, but you can expect it after the 19th of April.
The only other question that I see is that the book you mentioned, so the next time there is going to be Mishra joining us, who has written the book on the cloud computing, right? And the person could not find it at Helmet. Is it not available in Finland? Do you know if it's available somewhere to download?
So I know at least, and he will share more on this. So I know that it's on Udemy. He has a practice series and also like practitioner certification prep series. I will let him share next time a bit more on that. And yeah, so and he might have some interesting news for you. So join us next week, so we'll hear more.
Amazing.
All right.
And yeah, the very last one. All right. Is there any idea when the solutions architect associate course is coming, and do we have vouchers for them as well?
So we are planning to relaunch the Architect Associate during the spring. But to be very honest, it's also about that we have enough staffing to do like a full-on series. So my guess at the moment would be that the timing is either this spring, so meaning closer to June range when it's kicking off, and then it would run up until the end of the year. Yes, the same thing happens with the associate level voucher. So you will get access to the exam prep, the environments, a bit of additional materials, and the exam voucher. There's also so-called retry option, and I will check if I can get that already for the practitioner, but for the associate level, usually I can offer voucher and a retry voucher. So you have a voucher, and if you would for some reason not pass the exam, you can take a free retry.
Awesome.
All right.
That's all. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, everybody. Hey, network with us, give us feedback, give Sanna and Emilia feedback if there are any additional requests. Thank you for everybody's time. I hope I will see most of you next week when we kick off the tech sessions.